name is Delegates, and I want to welcome you and thank you for attending the campaign kickoff of my good friend Jennifer Boysko. Before I ask Jennifer to come up to the microphone, I asked a couple other special guests to come make some remarks. But first I want to speak briefly about my own association with Jennifer. I first met Jennifer on the back of a loading dock behind the Herndon Police Department building. She and her daughters were packing and loading boxes with food and supplies for Hurricane Katrina victims. I found out later that Jennifer was the one who had organized this event. I soon learned that Jennifer is a woman of passion, a woman of conviction, and a woman of action. Since that time, I've worked with Jennifer on a variety of different things, including serving on a committee for the Herndon's Downtown Master Plan, working on local campaigns, finding common sense solutions to day labor issues, investigating solutions for seniors, just to name a few. Jennifer is that kind of hardworking, experienced, and passionate person that we need to represent us in our very out-of-touch and inflexible Virginia House of Delegates. She is someone who will fight for long-term transportation solutions and who will ensure that the women of Virginia will be able to make their own decisions about their own bodies. Jennifer is the person who will fight for us in Richmond. And now I would like to introduce our first speaker. We are so lucky to have this next speaker as our representative in the Virginia State Senate. Senator Herring has been a successful and productive legislator, a man of integrity who has fought on the right side of issues. He has sponsored and passed legislation establishing research and development tax credit for new businesses and targeted industries. He has sponsored and passed the Virginia Innovation Investment Act to help start up technology industries in Virginia. He was a co-sponsor of the state transportation funding package. He's authored Virginia's telework tax credit so that employees can spend more time with their families and less time in traffic. He has championed legislation to criminalize dangerous designer drugs, and he sponsored and passed legislation to create some tax relief for veterans and their families. I could go on and on talking about Senator Herring, but what I really wanted to do is to come up here and talk about Jennifer Boysko.
Sounds like you've seen my website.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. It's great to be here this morning, and just recently returned from the front lines down in Richmond, and I love being in our state capitol, but it's great being home. And I almost wasn't sure I was going to make it here on time this morning. Some of you may know my son Tim plays on he's starting forward on the varsity basketball squad at Loudoun County High School. And he had practice this morning. I get this call at 9:15. Dad, I ran out of gas. Can you come help me? It's nice to be needed. Well, I understand that my friend John Faust is going to give the high-octane, high-volume introduction for Jennifer. So what I thought I'd do is just share with you a few words about how I see 2013 shaping up. A little bit about why I think it's so important to elect more Democrats to the House of Delegates, which I think is probably self-evident to most people in here, but I'll say a few things about it anyway. And then finish up about my association with Jennifer and why I think she'll be a great member of the House of Delegates in addition to our delegation. And as most of you know, I'm running for Attorney General, so I've been... And just wanted to share with you kind of the response I've gotten. It's been fantastic as I've traveled all over the state. People tell me that they want fundamental change in the Office of Attorney General. Ken Cuccinelli has really been an embarrassment to our state, and he's created a misimpression about Virginia that we're anti-science, that we're a backward state, which is not at all the case. It's just the opposite. And we need an Attorney General who projects a very different image, someone who's going to stand up for civil rights, consumers, and that's the kind of Attorney General I'll be. And so the response has been really positive. And as I see 2013 lining up, it seems to me that Virginians are going to have a very clear choice and a stark contrast about about the direction for the future of our Commonwealth. And it looks like the Republicans are probably going to nominate a very conservative ticket. And I think that Virginia is ready to have that conversation, and I think it's going to be one that's going to be good for Democrats. So I'm very optimistic about how 2013 is lining up, and I can't wait to, well, I've already got started, but I can't wait to keep going. And in terms of where things are with the General Assembly and why it's so important that we elect more Democrats, you know, it is the Republicans right now are really in control of all of the levers of power. They have the governor, the lieutenant governor, attorney general, supermajority in the House of Delegates, and with the 2020 tie and the Republican lieutenant governor, they've got control of every lever of the state government. And we saw what happened when they got control. The curtain was pulled back last year on what the agenda was for Republicans in Virginia, and it was this avalanche of socially extreme bills that really set us back. And while we shed a spotlight on that last year, and Virginians reacted very negatively toward this agenda that the Republicans were pushing forward, nevertheless, they still have the votes. And what we need to do is to get more people elected who have a whole different point of view, one that's more positive about the future of our Commonwealth and is a whole different direction that the Republicans are taking us in. And so I think that we need more Democrats. We need people like Jennifer Boysko, who I know is going to do a great job. And I first met Jennifer back in 2006. And many of you helped out on that special election when I ran for the state senate. And Jennifer was one of the first ones who stepped forward. And it was a very short campaign. It was a 4-week campaign. And I remember Jennifer called me and she said, "I think you can win and I want to help you." And she really worked hard. She was one of the co-founders of the Dulles Area Democrats, which was, for those of us on the Loudon side of the line, a real breath of fresh air, because it showed that there were Democrats who were willing to work hard to help Democratic candidates. Jennifer was one of those who really stepped forward and helped out my campaign in 2006 in an incredibly important way. She worked really, really hard. And she didn't just stop there. She continued to work. She helped out on my 07 re-election campaign, my 2011 re-election campaign, so you're 3 for 3. And she has also been great to work with as a constituent service. She helped John Faust in his office, so whenever constituents would call me and ask for something that was really better addressed at the county level, I could call Jennifer, and she was always there to help out. So I know that she's going to do a great job. We need more people like her. It would be great to have more women elected in the General Assembly. And so thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Herndon. I'm very proud to introduce this next speaker. We could not ask for a better representative on our Board of Supervisors than we have in John Faust. John has proved himself to be an effective, results-oriented, common-sense leader who has helped the residents of the Drainesville District in a multitude of ways. In Herndon, for example, he was instrumental in securing funding for tourism and economic development, for town sidewalks and the Drainesville road improvements, for a new right-hand turn lane off the Dulles Toll Road onto Centerville Road, for new turf fields at Herndon High School. He helped ensure that the weekday lunches were maintained at the Herndon Senior Center, and he helped ensure that our future Metro stop would be called the Herndon Metro Stop. He has worked on many interjurisdictional committees to help ensure that our interests are well protected and well represented. John, thank you so much for being here this morning. Supervisor John Faust.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. I have to apologize. Several of you this morning asked me, "Hey, John, how you doing?" And I immediately changed the subject. And the reason is, I think it's probably obvious to a lot of you, I'm not doing so good today. This is the first day since I got elected to the Board of Supervisors that Jennifer Boysko is not on my staff. Yesterday was her last day. Jennifer, and man, is she going to be missed. But Jennifer has, been more than a staff person for me. She's really been a partner and an advocate for the Herndon and the Herndon area, way beyond what I could have expected when I asked her to join my staff. She's done such a great job. And I'm consoling myself because I do believe that under current leadership in Richmond, state government is not working. And I do believe that with people like Jennifer going to Richmond, it's going to make a difference. And Jennifer will again be my partner, but at a different level. And I'm so looking forward to renewing that partnership. And in the meantime, I'm looking forward to working as hard as I can work, and I hope we'll get the same commitment from all of you to ensure that Jennifer wins. This is such an eminently winnable seat, and we need to work hard to get Jennifer in there. Now, I really appreciate the credit I get for the things that have happened in Herndon since I took office, and I'm a politician, so I'm going to take it. But I also am in a unique situation where I couldn't even live with myself if I didn't share that credit. Nothing has happened in Herndon over the past 5 years that I've been on the Board of Supervisors that Jennifer Boysko was not intimately involved with, either initiating it or bringing it to me, or me handing it off to her and not worrying about it, because I know the type of person Jennifer is. If we get done and we get done right. And I am going to run down a little list because I want you to know the types of things Jennifer's worked on. I absolutely believe that we cannot possibly send a better prepared, better qualified person to work at the state level to help us get things done at the local level. One of the feathers in our cap, I mean, the thing that I'm most proud of, I think, and it's probably not the most important, but I just love the fact that we were able to get those turf fields out at Herndon High School. It means so much to the community and to the youth, and that really was Jennifer. She brought that, she spearheaded it, she walked it through, she went to the Park Authority and organized the advocates to present the thing. And we got the funding, and we made it happen. And so the town of Herndon and the youth of Herndon are definitely indebted to her. The Herndon Fire Station, when I took office, I think it had been over 20 years since people were talking about the Herndon Fire Station. And Jennifer took it on as a project, worked with county staff, and I think we're in the process now of getting the plans approved, and Herndon will get a new fire station in the next 2 years. So another great accomplishment by Jennifer. Then funding, I mean, I thank you for giving me credit for all those funding decisions. I definitely had a role, but I have to share, I don't think these things up. People have to bring them to me, and Jennifer brings things to me, and there's so many issues in the town of Herndon, the community of Herndon, that really, it just wasn't right that the county wasn't stepping up and helping to fund or helping to find resources to make things happen. Jennifer is the person on your behalf who has brought those things to me, and we've been able to get a lot of things done in that regard. The station name, I mean, if you don't live in Herndon, maybe you don't have the appreciation of how important that is. But whenever you have someone like Jennifer Boysko on your side, she educates you, she makes sure that the people of the town of Herndon are represented and get what they deserve. I could go on, and I would love to. And at some point, I hope Jennifer puts her accomplishments on the website so you can see them. But it's going to take a while for you to get through the list. I will say, the type of person she is evident by the types of things she accomplishes. My constituents love Jennifer. She is, they bring her a problem, she gets them a resolution. I can't tell you how many times I would say to Jennifer, It's our job to bring it to staff, but we don't have the resources to work these things through. The staff does. Yeah, John, but, she's always concerned that somebody's not going to get what they need from the county or from human services or from the police or you name it. So, just one thing after another over the years, Jennifer has come through for you and your community. She is literally demonstrating better than any candidate I can think of that she is ready for, prepared for, and deserves to be representing us in Richmond. So I'm so excited to introduce my good friend, my future partner, my former partner, and my buddy Jennifer Boysko.
It's amazing to hear such nice things from people. John, I can't thank you enough for the past 5 years. You have been the most amazing mentor and friend, and I'm just humbled by your support for me, and so glad that I've had this opportunity. And Mark, I cannot wait until you are our Attorney General. And Barbara, thank you for being here today and serving as our Master of Ceremonies. You and I have worked on a great number of projects together, and I want to tell you folks, just a few weeks ago, Herndon was voted number 12th friendliest town in all of the United States by Forbes magazine. It's Barbara who is the perfect example of why that happened. And while we're thanking people and recognizing folks, I'd like to recognize our elected and appointed officials here in the room. Janie Strauss, our school board member from Is Pat Hines still here? Pat Hines was here. She's our Hunter Mill school board member. Sheila Olam, our town council member. Jay Donahue, who is our planning commissioner in Grainsville. Mr. Mike O'Reilly, our former mayor. John Moyer, former vice mayor. Have I missed anyone? Have I recognized everyone that's here today? I think so. Great. Well, I would also be remiss if I didn't point out the 4 people in my life who stood beside me through thick and thin, talking about my family. They keep the music playing for me every day, and if you know them well, you understand what that reference means. They and my mom keep a sense of balance in my life. My husband, Glenn Boysko. My daughters, Hannah and Sophie Claire. And my mom, Diane Coleman, who surprised me by arriving yesterday. So, let's get started. We're here today because we all care about the future. We all share a common concern to make our community a better place for all. We all know that we can do better at the state level, and the General Assembly has absolutely gotten off track, and that's why I'm running for the 86th District in the House of Delegates. Just this week in the Washington Post, Lieutenant Governor Bill Bolling talked about how now that his party has completely betrayed him, as you know, they've effectively given the nomination for governor to his friend Cuccinelli. He talked about how it feels absolutely great to be free from having to vote in lockstep with his party leadership. But our current delegate, Tom Rust, is still stuck in those handcuffs. He's been drowning in his obligation to serve his party, and it's us, it is we who are the victims as they restrict our health care choices, as our voting rights, and even by allowing agencies to discriminate if we happen to be gay or lesbian and want to adopt a child. All of this has happened during a time in which our district has not received the resources we need, especially for our transportation and infrastructure projects. There have been very painful cuts as well, especially in our early childhood and human services, leaving our most vulnerable residents at risk. But instead, as we all know, the General Assembly spent most of its time last session focusing on divisive social issues. There was a large transportation package, however, and I don't know if you're aware, but Mr. Rust led the governor's proposal and carried it in the House of Delegates for him. As chief patron, instead of fighting for dollars to help us in the 86th district, he directed the funds down to Norfolk. Now, I don't know, I'm not an expert on geography, but I'm pretty sure that Norfolk has no part in the 86th district. And I'd like to ask you, where are the resources to pay for our metro stations? Where are the funding to help our toll roads? I'm sorry, but the delegate for the 86th district should work for us, not for his political party, not for the governor. And I'll tell you up front, when you elect me, I will work to represent your interests every single day. Some of you don't know me that well, so I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself and my political philosophy on public service. When I was in the 6th grade, back in Hot Springs, Arkansas, in 1979, only boys were allowed to be crossing guards at my school. I know. It's unthinkable now, right? I have 2 older brothers, and they had both served as patrol boys. And so when I was old enough, I didn't think it made any sense that me and my girlfriends wouldn't have that opportunity. So instead of sulking about it, I collected my friends. We went to the teacher and we petitioned her. Then we went down to the principal's office and asked for the same opportunity. And by the end of the school year, I was stationed as the very first alternate in the history of the school. And the following year, it was co-ed and has been ever since. That's just the way I've lived my life. When I identify a problem, I step up, I speak out, and I organize my friends to do something about it. I was very politically engaged in college. I went to Hollins College in Roanoke, Virginia. And when I graduated, I got myself a job on Capitol Hill working for a U.S. senator. Later on, I worked as a legislative assistant for a government affairs firm where I covered all of the Capitol Hill congressional policy issues, and I reported back to our clients. Then, in the mid-90s, my husband and I decided to start our family, and I focused all of my efforts on my girls while they were very young. Our daughter, Sophie Claire, who you can see is perfectly healthy today, was actually born 2 months premature. I got a very rare pregnancy-related disease, and I was forced to give birth 2 months early. Spending 5 weeks in the NICU unit, I understand what it's like to worry about healthcare costs and insurance when you have a very sick little child like that, and you're worrying that she's not going to survive. I understand how challenging it is when you have a child with extraordinary needs. Those first 2 years of her life were absolutely intense, and it brought me a perspective that I think is important in this policy area. But fortunately for all of us, she thrived and she's fine, and the girls both flourished. So in 2003, when both girls were back in school for full day, I went back to focusing on politics again. And I heard that year presidential hopeful Howard Dean speak. I know many of us had different favorites, but he was the one who spoke to me because he talked about his achievements that he did as governor, state issues like what I'm hoping to work on now. As governor of Vermont, he worked on kitchen table issues, lowering taxes 3 times while balancing his budget, securing medical coverage for all the children in Vermont. He also talked about how each mom received a visit from a nurse after giving birth. And he stood out for the civil rights of all as one of the first governors in the nation who endorsed civil unions. His message touched me, as I said, and I got involved. Soon I was asked to serve as the state director for the entire campaign in Virginia. And through that role, I developed this amazing statewide and nationwide network of colleagues who, like me, cared passionately about the political discourse in this country. That's how I met many of you in this room, and I can see you. We're still all here together, working hard. It was that 2003-2004 presidential cycle was really amazing for us, as it does each year. Each time we have a presidential cycle, brings in new people into the fold. We did it again in 2008 when I was the team leader for Herndon, and then this past year I served as the precinct ops captain for all of Herndon. Electoral politics, using grassroots organization as a way to affect change, is a very powerful way for us to help qualified leaders make a difference for us. Speaking of leaders, John Faust won his seat in 2007, and as he told you, he asked me to join his staff for the Board of Supervisors. So at that point, I really pivoted. My focus changed from electoral politics to day-to-day local government. And as our Congressman Jerry Conley says, that's where the rubber really hits the road. As John just told you, I spent the past 5 years focusing on specific challenges faced by our constituents. Government's role is to work with citizens and businesses, nonprofits, and local groups to create a livable community for its residents. From dealing with a utility or snow removal to working with VDOT to address your local paving problems caused by a lack of state funding, I mentioned, planning land use and transportation improvements around our proposed metro stations, and as he talked about, identifying and securing funding for projects like our turf field projects at Herndon High School. We have succeeded in areas crucial to the quality of our life. Unfortunately, however, that is not the mantra held by many in the General Assembly. Too many people in this political process see it as a sport. They see it as a way to feed their own egos. And local and state government decisions make huge impacts on all of us. I understand very well that a vote to send our transportation dollars downstate because one needs to please his leadership leaves us with a toll road that is quickly becoming unaffordable. The debacle on women's health care last year is another example of how out of touch the Republican caucus has become, including that thinly veiled attempt to eliminate choice by restricting the clinics that make choice possible for women. Speaking of women, did you know that after election, I will be only the second mother with a school-age child serving out of the 100 members in the House of Delegates? We need more strong, smart, capable women standing up in Richmond and serving us. I know that families need to be able to manage their own lives. Tom Rust also cut the child care subsidies for our families who are struggling to hold down a job. When we say we want people to get off welfare and go back to work, but they can't afford to pay the babysitter for their own children, what are they left with? It's actually penny wise and pound foolish. Our most vulnerable residents will be facing a number of challenges this year, and the programs for which they depend come in large part from the state sales tax, I'll just mention. We cannot let that money that is committed to those services in the general fund be siphoned away to pay for our transportation projects. Transportation has to have its own funding solution. And now that we have the opportunity to provide health care for what some have estimated to be 400,000 more Virginians through the Medicaid expansion, the Republican governor has said that he is not going to be supporting that. I find that horrible. We were lucky enough to have insurance when our daughter was little. Imagine what it would have been like having a very sick child with no coverage at all. So I say, these are not just women's issues. They're not just human services issues. They're not just children's issues. They are economic issues that will contribute to the strength and the social fabric in Virginia. Investments in the people that we serve make sense in the long run. And when we have a healthy and a well-educated community, we are stronger and more successful. When we can get from point A to point B without horrible traffic congestion, our quality of life is better. And that will bring new businesses who wish to settle and invest here. This will bring more jobs, resulting in a stronger economy and a higher tax base, which will in turn help stabilize our fiscal system throughout Virginia. So today, I ask you to stand with me if you believe that the status quo is not the answer. I ask you to stand with me if you believe more women deserve a voice in Richmond. Is going to have real consequences. Anyone who is familiar with the presumptive Republican gubernatorial candidate, Ken Cuccinelli, and his record, you know there are stark differences between him and our Democratic candidate, Terry McAuliffe. All of us have to get out and work really hard. So today I ask you to join Mark Harry for Attorney General. Join Terry McAuliffe and bring us all a strong, decisive message back to Richmond. When I was 12, I learned that one person's voice can make a real difference. And today, I'm asking you to use your voice to bring hope and progress back to Virginia. Today, I ask humbly for your vote. I ask for your support, and I ask for your help. I am Jennifer Boysko, candidate for the 86th District in the House of Delegates.